November 25th, 1943, 0141 hours. The Solomon Sea, off the tip of New Ireland. The darkness here is not simply an absence of light, it is a physical weight. There is no moon. Heavy, low-hanging cumulus clouds blot out the starlight, turning the waters between Buca and Cape St. George into an ink-black void. On the open bridge of the lead destroyer, USS Charles Osborne, the humidity is stifling. The salt spray hits the face of Captain Arleigh Burke, but he doesn't blink. He isn't looking at the horizon. In this weather, human eyes are useless. Instead, his world is focused on a voice crackling through the intercom from the Combat Information Center, CIC, below decks. "Contact," the radar man reports, his voice tight but controlled. "Bearing 030, range 22,000 yards, 2 targets, high speed." Burke, known to his men as 31-knot Burke for his obsession with speed, leans into the voice tube. He doesn't need to raise his binoculars to know exactly what is out there. It is the Tokyo Express, the Imperial Japanese Navy's formidable reinforcement run. For 2 years, the Japanese have owned the night in the Solomons. They have drilled their lookouts to see shadows in the dark. They have developed massive optics that gather light where none seems to exist. They have slaughtered Allied crews who relied on eyesight alone. But tonight, the rules of war have changed. Burke looks back at the silhouette of his squadron, Destroyer Squadron 23, the Little Beavers. Behind him trail the Claxton and the Dyson. Further back, the Converse and the Spence. They are running dark, radio silence absolute. They are not hunting with eyes, they are hunting with the SG radar. Below decks, in the claustrophobic, humming glow of the Osborne's radar room, the war looks different. It is a sweeping green line on a phosphor screen. The Sugar George radar, a microwave band marvel, isn't just showing blobs, it is painting a tactical map in real time. The operator watches 2 distinct pips glowing against the background clutter. "They have no idea we're here, Captain," the executive officer murmurs on the bridge. 12 miles away, on the bridge of the Japanese destroyer Onami, Captain Kyoto Kagawa feels confident. He is screening for the transport destroyers Amagiri and Yugiri. His lookouts, the finest night fighters in the world, are scanning the horizon through massive 20-centimeter binoculars mounted on the deck. These men are trained to spot the white wake of a ship at 5 miles in pitch darkness. Kagawa believes he is alone. He believes the Americans are sleeping or miles away. The Japanese doctrine is built on the belief that the night belongs to the Emperor's Navy. He does not know that invisible beams of electromagnetic energy are currently bouncing off his hull, returning to the Charles Osborne and calculating his exact speed and course. Burke makes his move. He doesn't charge in guns blazing. That is the old way. "Hold fire," Burke orders. "Prepare for torpedo attack. Stand by." He separates his force. It is a disciplined, lethal choreography. Burke takes the Osborne, Claxton, and Dyson, his torpedo team, and swings them wide to the right. He orders the Converse and Spence, the gunfire team, to hang back and cover the rear. He is setting a hammer and anvil trap, using the radar to position his ships in the perfect firing solution before the enemy even knows a battle has begun. The Osborne cuts through the swells, its bow wave hissing. The range drops. 20,000 yards. 18,000 yards. 15,000 yards. On the Onami, the lookouts see nothing but black ocean. No muzzle flashes, no searchlights, just the comforting rhythm of their own engines. They are sailing into the jaws of a wolf pack, blindfolded. Burke watches the plotting board. The geometry is perfect. He intends to launch torpedoes first, hit them before they can return fire, and then finish them with guns. It is an execution, not a duel. Range 6,000 yards, the CIC reports. Target course steady. The tension on the American bridge is electric. The torpedo officer stands ready, the firing keys in hand. The Mark 15 torpedoes, heavily criticized earlier in the war, have been refined. But tonight, it's about the delivery system. The radar allows them to calculate the lead where the Japanese ships will be in 4 minutes with mathematical precision. "Starboard side," Burke commands, his voice cutting through the wind. "Fire 1, Fire 2, Fire 3. A series of muffled whooshes erupts from the tubes of the Osborne, followed instantly by the Claxton and Dyson. 15 torpedoes splash into the dark water. "Fish in the water," a sailor whispers. The destroyers immediately turn away, circling back to avoid detection. The torpedoes, running hot and straight, race invisibly toward the Onami and Makanami at 45 knots. Now the wait begins. The time of run is calculated at roughly 4 minutes. 4 minutes of agonizing silence. 4 minutes where Burke wonders if the Japanese will spot the wakes, if they will turn, if the long lance torpedoes will come screaming back at them. On the Onami, Captain Kagawa checks his watch. He is on schedule. He relaxes his grip on the railing, staring into the void, unaware that death is rushing toward him just beneath the surface. November 25th, 1943. Ya-1, 54. Hours, the impact zone. The silence breaks not with a whimper, but with the force of a volcano. One moment, the destroyer Onami is cutting through the dark swells, its crew vigilant, eyes straining against the blackness. The next, the ocean beneath her keel erupts. 2 of the American torpedoes slam into the Onami amidships. The violence is absolute. The warheads detonate deep inside the hull, likely igniting the ship's own magazines. There is no time for damage control. There is no time to sound a general alarm. A colossal pillar of fire, violet and orange, shoots 300 feet into the night sky, momentarily turning the St. George Channel into day. The shockwave hits the water like a sledgehammer. On the bridge of the Charles Osborne, thousands of yards away, the men feel the concussion rattle their teeth. "Got him!" a lookout screams, his voice cracking over the roar. Through the optics, they witness a terrifying sight. The Onami, a proud 2,000-ton vessel of the Imperial Navy, simply disintegrates. Her back broken, bow and stern jackknife upwards, and within seconds she slides beneath the roiling foam. Captain Kagawa and his entire crew are gone before they even knew they were under attack. Whatever confidence the Japanese had in their night-fighting supremacy vanishes with the Onami. Astern of the lead ship, the destroyer Makanami desperately tries to maneuver. Her captain sees the fireball ahead and screams for a hard turn. But the little Beavers didn't just fire at the lead ship, they fired a spread pattern. A 3rd torpedo catches the Makanami. The explosion shreds her engineering spaces. The scream of tearing metal echoes across the water as her engines die instantly. She is not dead, but she is broken, drifting helplessly. Burning, a sitting duck in the dark. Back in the Osborne's Combat Information Center, the radar operator watches the geometry of the battle shift instantly. "Target 1 is gone, sir. Disappeared from the scope. Target 2 has slowed, stopping. Target 2 is dead in the water." Burke listens to the report. His ambush was perfect, but he sees something else on the glowing green screen. 3 more pips. The transport destroyers Amagiri, Yugiri, and Uzuki are breaking formation. They are terrified. They have seen their escorts annihilated by an invisible enemy, and now they are turning north, fleeing back toward Rabaul at flank speed. This is the moment the battle shifts from an ambush to a chase. "All ships!" Burke barks into the radio, breaking silence now that the trap is sprung. "Pursue! 30 knots, get the transports." The Osborne, Claxton, and Dyson heel over hard, their propellers churning the water into a white frenzy. They leave the crippled Makanami behind Burke, orders the Converse and Spence, his rear guard, to finish her off. He wants the ones trying to get away. On the bridge of the fleeing Yugiri, panic sets in. The Japanese sailors are frantic. They rush to their 5-inch guns, swinging the heavy turrets port and starboard. Their eyes weep from the strain of staring into the dark. Where are they? Standard naval doctrine says the Americans should be visible. Gunfire produces muzzle flashes. Torpedo launches produce splashes. But there is nothing. Just the crushing dark and the knowledge that something is out there, moving faster than they are, Burke is utilizing a tactic the Japanese have never encountered: blind fire control. The SG radar isn't just finding the enemy, it is feeding data directly to the gunnery computers. Range 12,000 yards. Closing, the talker reports on the Osborne. Burke waits. He wants to be closer. He wants to ensure that when his guns speak, they don't miss. Range 10,000 yards. The American destroyers line up in a pursuit column. They are closing the distance rapidly, their bows cutting the wake of the fleeing Japanese ships. The Japanese are running blind, zigzagging in desperation. The Americans are running straight, guided by the unblinking eye of the microwave beam. Range 8,000 yards, solution locked. Burke grabs the railing of the bridge. The silence is about to end for the second time tonight. Commence firing. November 25th, 1943. 02 Amos hours. Stern chase northbound toward Rabaul. The darkness is shattered by the staccato rhythm of American firepower. From the decks of the Charles Osborne, Claxton, and Dyson, the 5-inch 38 caliber guns begin their work. This weapon system is the heartbeat of the U.S. Navy destroyer rapid-fire, dual-purpose, reliable. But tonight, it is operating with a terrifying new lethality. Normally, night gunnery is a guessing game. You spot a flash, you estimate the range, you fire, and you wait for the splash to correct your aim. Tonight, there is no guessing. The Mark IV, fire control radar, perched atop the gun directors, locks onto the fleeing Japanese destroyers. It feeds precise data range, bearing and speed directly into the Ford Mark I electromechanical computers deep inside the ships. The computers do the math. The turrets rotate automatically. The gunners merely load and pull the trigger. Streams of tracers arc through the night sky, glowing red like angry meteors. To the naked eye, they look beautiful. To the sailors on the Japanese destroyer Yugiri, they are the fingers of death. On the Yugiri, chaos reigns. Captain Shuichi Hamo is shouting orders, trying to zigzag his ship to throw off the enemy's aim. In any other battle, this would work. But every time he turns, the American radar tracks the shift instantly. The falling shells don't just land near him, they follow him. The first salvo lands short, throwing geysers of water over the Yugiri's fantail. The second salvo straddles the ship. The third salvo hits home. Steel slams into steel. The Yugiri shudders violently as 5-inch shells tear through her superstructure. Shrapnel scythes across the deck, cutting down the gun crews who are desperately trying to spot a target to return fire. They peer into the blackness, seeing only the blinding flashes of the American guns miles astern. They fire back wildly, their shells splashing harmlessly into the empty ocean, nowhere near the American ships. It is an uneven fight. It is a blind man swinging a sword against a sniper with night vision goggles. Aboard the Osborne, Captain Burke watches the show with a grim satisfaction. He is standing on the wing of the bridge, the wind whipping his uniform. He doesn't need to micromanage the gunnery officers. The system is working. "Keep hitting them," Burke mutters. "Don't let them breathe." The destroyer Amagiri, faster and luckier than her sister ship, manages to pull ahead. Her captain dumps smoke, creating a thick chemical fog bank to hide his escape. Burke considers chasing her, but his radar operator calls out that the Yugiri is slowing down. She is hurt. She is the prize. Burke orders a shift in fire. The Osborne, Claxton, and Dyson concentrate everything they have on the lagging Yugiri. The result is catastrophic. A shell penetrates the Yugiri's engineering spaces, severing the main steam lines. The Japanese destroyer loses power. She drifts to a halt, burning fiercely, a beacon in the night. The American destroyers close in like sharks. They pour round after round into the burning hulk, turning the ship into a sieve. At 02:30, the Yugiri gives up the ghost. She rolls over and slips beneath the waves, joining the Onami on the bottom of the Solomon Sea. Burke orders a check fire. The sudden silence is deafening. The smell of cordite hangs heavy in the humid air. The little Beavers have sunk 2 enemy destroyers in less than an hour. and they haven't taken a single hit in return. Not even a scratch. Any sign of the others? Burke asks. Negative, Captain, the CIC reports. Target 3, Amajiri, and Target 5, Uzuki, have moved out of effective radar range. They're running for Rabaul. Burke knows when to fold. They are getting dangerously close to the Japanese airfields at Rabaul. If they stay too long, Dawn will bring swarms of Zero fighters and Betty bombers. He has broken the back of the reinforcement run. It is time to go. Come about, Burke orders. Course 180. Let's go pick up the straggler. He is referring to the Makanami, the second ship they had torpedoed at the start of the ambush. She was left crippled miles behind them, monitored by the Converse and Spence. Burke intends to ensure the job is finished. As the Osborne turns south, the crew begins to realize the magnitude of what they just accomplished. They didn't just win a skirmish, they proved that the terrifying legend of the Tokyo Express, the invincible Japanese night navy, was a myth that could be dismantled by American science. But the night isn't over yet. As they steam back toward the site of the first ambush, the radar screen lights up again. The Makanami is still afloat, and she is not surrendering. November 25th, 1943. 02:53 hours, the location of the initial ambush. While Captain Burke chases the fleeing transports to the north, a grim drama plays out back at the starting line. The destroyer Makanami is dying. She is a broken thing, listless and drifting in the swells. The fires raging amidships cast a flickering, macabre light on the water, illuminating the oil slick spreading from her ruptured tanks. Circling her like wolves are the USS Converse and USS Spence. On the bridge of the Spence, the mood is tense. They know the enemy ship is crippled, but a crippled destroyer is like a wounded tiger, still capable of lashing out with lethal force. Target bearing 270, the lookout calls. She's burning, sir. Range 5,000 yards. The Japanese sailors on the Makanami are living through a nightmare. The power is out. The pumps are dead. The ammunition hoists are silent. Yet, amidst the smoke and the screams of the wounded, men are manually training the guns. They are pushing heavy shells into the breaches by hand, desperate to take at least one American ship down with them. A flash erupts from the Makanami. A shell whistles harmlessly overhead, splashing into the dark water 500 yards from the Spence. It is a gesture of defiance, nothing more. The American response is merciless. Finish her, comes the order. The Converse and Spence open up with their main batteries. At this short range, guided by radar, they cannot miss. The 5-inch shells hammer the Makanami relentlessly. Chunks of the Japanese superstructure fly into the air. The bridge is pulverized. The forward turret is blown off its mountings. It is a brutal, industrial dismantling of a warship. Despite the pounding, the Makanami refuses to sink. Her hull is tough, her watertight compartments holding just enough air to keep her afloat. The American captains grow impatient. They are dangerously exposed here, immobile in enemy waters. Torpedo solution, the Converse signals. They line up for the coup de grace. The Converse fires a spread of torpedoes. The weight is short. Boom! A torpedo strikes the Makanami on the port side. The explosion breaks the ship's back. The bow and stern rise up, folding toward each other like a closing book. The fires hiss as they are dragged underwater. In less than 60 seconds, the Makanami is gone. The sea rushes in to fill the void, leaving only swirling foam and debris. Captain Burke arrives back on the scene with the Osborne, Claxton, and Dyson, just as the radar screen clears. The ocean is empty of targets. The radio crackles to life. It is the voice of a squadron commander checking his flock. Any damage? Burke asks each ship in turn. Negative, replies the Claxton. Negative, replies the Dyson. Negative, replies the Converse. Negative, replies the Spence. The report is almost unbelievable. In a chaotic night action fighting against the masters of nocturnal naval warfare, Destroyer Squadron 23 has sunk 3 enemy destroyers and routed 2 others. And the cost? Not a single American ship has been hit. Not a single American sailor has been killed. The sun is beginning to hint at the eastern horizon. The cloak of darkness, once the Japanese Navy's greatest ally has been stripped away. The Americans didn't just survive the night, they weaponized it. As the little Beavers form up and set a course for home, leaving the debris field behind, the magnitude of the shift becomes clear. The era of the samurai relying on eyesight and instinct is over. The era of the electronic warrior has begun. November 25, 1943, 6 hours, steaming south toward Purvis Bay. The sun finally breaches the horizon, turning the gray waters of the Solomon Sea into a dazzling sheet of gold. The light reveals the 5 destroyers of Squadron 23 steaming in perfect formation, their hulls encrusted with salt, their guns finally silent and trained back to a neutral position. On the bridge of the USS Charles Osborne, the adrenaline is fading, replaced by a heavy, satisfied exhaustion. Men who have been awake for 24 hours are slumped against bulkheads, smoking cigarettes, staring at the waking world with the 1,000-yard stare of combat veterans. But there is something else in their eyes today, a profound sense of disbelief. They check their ships. They look for the telltale signs of battle shrapnel holes, twisted railings, scorched paint. They find nothing. In the annals of naval history, the Battle of Cape St. George will be studied for generations. It is labeled by historians as the perfect naval battle. Arleigh Burke's force had achieved the tactical holy grail. They had crossed the T of the enemy, launched a surprise torpedo attack, pursued the survivors with gunfire, and sunk 3 enemy warships. And in return, they had suffered no casualties and no damage. As the little Beavers pull into Purvis Bay later that day, the reception is legendary. Signal flags snap in the breeze. Sailors on anchored cruisers and transports line the rails to cheer the returning destroyers. They know the score. They know that the Tokyo Express, that relentless nightly supply train that has kept the Japanese army alive in the Solomons, has just been derailed permanently. But the real impact of this night is being felt hundreds of miles away, at the Japanese headquarters in Rabaul. For the Imperial Japanese Navy, the report from the surviving ships, Amagiri and Uzuki, is a shock to the system. The survivors speak of an enemy that fired with uncanny accuracy from beyond visual range. They speak of torpedoes that arrived out of the darkness without a single searchlight beam to warn them. For decades, the Japanese Navy had trained to be the masters of the night. They believed their spirit, their optics, and their intense drill would always overcome American material superiority. Cape St. George proved them wrong. The Americans hadn't just brought more ships. They had brought a new way of seeing. The SG radar had stripped the Japanese of their cloak of invisibility. The psychological blow is devastating. The Japanese high command realizes they can no longer risk their precious destroyers on supply runs. The garrison on Bougainville is effectively cut off, left to wither on the vine. The sea lane is closed. Captain Arleigh Burke, the man who orchestrated the slaughter, stands on his bridge one last time before going below to sleep. He has validated a new doctrine. He has proven that a destroyer squadron, untethered from the slow-moving cruisers and battleships, can be the deadliest weapon on the ocean when guided by technology and aggression. The era of the glamorous close-range gun duel is fading. The era of electronic warfare, of fighting blips on a green screen, of mathematical death delivered from the dark has arrived. The Japanese sailors were indeed stunned. They were stunned because they were fighting a war of eyes and ears, while the Americans were fighting a war of wavelengths and frequencies. And in the dark waters off Cape St. George, the future of naval warfare didn't just arrive, it dominated. Thank you for watching.